Hello dear students, today I am going to solve some model question papers based on your NEET examination pattern. The National Eligibility cum Entrance Test is an entrance examination conducted for admission to all India pre-medical colleges. If you want to join for medical courses, dental courses or homeopathic or BAMS in government or in private medical colleges in India, you have to write NEET examination. We already know NEET exam pattern consisting of 3 subjects, physics, chemistry and biology. In biology again they are going to consider botany and zoology. From all the 4 subjects, physics, chemistry, botany and zoology, you will get 45 questions from each of the sections. So total number of questions will be 180 and each question carries 4 marks. For the correct answer, you are awarded with 4 marks. For incorrect answer, so you are deducted with 1 mark. So and the total time duration is 3 hours. Total marks 720 and the mode of examination is offline. So NEET syllabus consists of the concepts taught in class 11 and 12. So it is very important to solve model question paper. So for the students it is easy to attempt the questions in your NEET examination so that you will get good rank in the NEET examination to get good seat in the medical colleges. So let us start the solution for model question paper. The first question is force F is given in terms of time t and distance x by F equal to A sin ct plus B cos dx. Then dimensions of A by B and C by D are. So we have to find the dimensions of A by B and C divided by D. So first we have to know what is A by B. You can observe the equation F equal to A sin ct plus B cos dx. Here A by B, that means you can observe here A sin ct is equal to B cos dx. These two terms are equivalent to force because the equation is F equal to. Remember, same quantities can be added or that can be subtracted. Here they added two quantities A sin ct and B cos dx. When we are adding two quantities that should be same. So which is equal to force. So that means A sin ct B cos dx which are equivalent to force. So we want the value of A by B. So here A and B is equal to force. So A by B equal to. So what are A by B? Both are having same quantity. So force divided by force. And what is the dimensional formula for force? We know that m raised to 1, L raised to 1, T raised to minus 2. We already know the dimensional formula for force divided by. Again we can write the same dimensional equation. So m raised to 1, L raised to 1, T raised to minus 2 divided by the same dimensional equation. So the final answer will be m raised to 0, L raised to 0, T raised to 0. This is dimensional formula for A by B. Here you can observe the options. So A and C both are same here, m raised to 0, L raised to 0, T raised to 0. Now we have to find C by D. Either A or C option may be right. Now find C by D value. Observe the equation. Here T indicates time and X indicates distance. I am going to write CT. Observe the equation A sin CT. Sin CT means it is equivalent to angle. DX, it is also equivalent to angle. Right? So CT equal to angle. Similarly, dx is also equal to angle. We can write like this. So we want C equal to, we can write it as angle divided by T. When it goes to RHS side, it will go to denominator, angle by time. Here also d equal to, we can write angle divided by distance. Now it is easy to find the dimensional formula for C by D. Angle divided by time. Here we can write angle divided by time, that is t. Here also 1 divided by distance, that is L. 1 by t can be written as t raised to minus 1. 1 by L can be written as L raised to minus 1. Now we got the value of C and D, but we want C divided by D. C means t raised to minus 1 divided by D means L raised to minus 1. Then what is the dimensional formula? Mass m raised to, it will be 0 and t raised to minus 1. So L raised to minus 1 can be written as t raised to minus 1 divided by 1 by L, or we can write L t raised to minus 1. M raised to 0, L raised to 1, t raised to minus 1. So this is the value for C by D. Is it clear? So what is the answer? M raised to 0, L raised to 0, t raised to 0. This is dimensional formula for A by B. For C by D, we got m raised to 0, L raised to 1, t raised to minus 1. So which is the right option here? You can observe A and C. So the right option is option C. A particle is dropped from the rest from a large height. And here G is constant. G indicates acceleration due to gravity. G is constant during its motion. The time taken by it to fall through successive distance of 1 meter. So we have to find the time taken by that particle. So time taken to cover, I am going to write. So first we can write time taken to cover n meter. Time taken to cover, let us take n meter in general. So we know the equation S equal to ut plus half at square. Substitute the value. S equal to, S means what here? Distance. So it covers n meter. I can write it as n equal to, initial velocity of the particle is 0 because it is dropped from the rest. So initial velocity is 0. 0 into anything will be 0. Leave it. Remaining is 1 by 2. And here acceleration is equivalent to G. Acceleration due to gravity. T square. This is time taken to cover n meter. Let us write it as Tn square. Similarly, I am going to write time taken to cover n plus 1 meter. Initially it covers n meter. Now I am going to take n plus 1 meter. Then how to write the equation? So we can directly write the equation Tn plus 1 equal to, I am going to write directly the equation 2 into n plus 1 divided by G. How we got this equation? From the above equation. See here, Tn square equal to, how to write the equation? 2n divided by G. Or if you want Tn, so we can write Tn equal to root of 2n divided by G. In place of n, in the second condition, I can write n plus 1 divided by G. Time taken to cover n plus 1th meter. We know time taken for n meter, for n plus 1 meter. So what is the final time? That means we can write Tn plus 1 minus Tn. Final time interval minus initial time interval is equal to, that gives the final time interval. That means the resultant time interval. So we can write root of 2n plus 1 divided by G minus Tn. It means 2n divided by G. Or we can write it as, here root of 2 by G is common. Take outside. Remaining is root of n plus 1 minus root of n. So this gives the required ratios. For example, I am going to take n equal to 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on. Substitute the values in the above equation. What we can get? 2 root of 2 by g is constant, leave it because g is also constant during its motion. So root of n plus 1 minus root n. When I am going to substitute n equal to 0, what is the value? Root of n. That means in place of n, I can write here 1. So first value, I am going to write 0 plus 1 minus root of 0. So root of 1 is root 1. Then similarly we can substitute n equal to 1. What we can get? A root of, here in place of n we can write 1 plus 1 minus root of 1, which is equal to root 2 minus root 1. Right? This is for n equal to 1. Similarly for n equal to 2, substitute the value. In place of n, write 2 plus 1 minus root 2, that gives root 3 minus root 2. So root 1, root 2 minus root 1, root 3 minus root 2. So this gives the required ratios, which is starting from rest. So we substitute initially n equal to 0. Now observe the equation, which is the suitable answer. So here you can take option C. What is option C here? In the ratios of difference in the square roots of integers, that is root 1, root 2 minus root 1, root 3 minus root 2 and so on. So the time taken by the particle to fall through successive distances of 1 meter each will be option C. A particle undergoes simple harmonic motion having a time period t. The time taken in 3 by 8, 3/8 oscillation is. See here, we want time taken in 3/8 oscillation. I can write t 3 by 8. We want this value. So this can be written as, here I am going to write it as t 1 by 4 plus t 1 by 8, because you can see here we want 3 by 8. So I wrote here 1 by 4 plus 1 by 8. What is the LCM? LCM is 8. So 4 2s are 8, 2 plus 1 will be 3. So we will get again the same answer. So 3 by 8 can be written as t of 1 by 4 plus t of 1 by 8. Then here t 1 by 4, easily we can get this value. First I can write time to complete 1/4 oscillation is, directly I can write this will be equal to t by 4 second. So I want time taken in 3 by 8 oscillation. So we divide that 3 by 8 into t of 1 by 4 plus t of 1 by 8. So t of 1 by 4 means that is 1/4 oscillation, which is equal to t by 4 second. Now we have to calculate time taken in 1/8 oscillation. See here, for 1/8 oscillation, suppose if the particle undergoes simple harmonic motion, it is its initial point, it starts to oscillate in this direction, it reaches the final point here and then it will come back to and fro motion. Here when it come back, that gives one complete oscillation, that is t. But when that particle goes here, which is equal to half of the oscillation, that is t1 by 2. So if that particle comes at this position, we can write t1 by 4. And here at this point, we will get t1 by 8. Right? So this point we have to calculate time taken for this distance. But we know that the distance between these 2 points is denoted by a. Right? From its mean position to extreme position. A, or for t 1 by 8 we can get a by 2. Right? So that means for, see here, for 1/8 oscillation, I am going to take the equation y equal to a divided by 2. So time taken to complete 1/8 oscillation is y equal to a by 2. Then we know the equation y equal to a cos omega t. We already know this equation of simple harmonic motion, y equal to a cos omega t. Substitute the values. So here we can write it as a by 2 equal to a cos omega t. Here a will get cancelled. Remaining is what? 1 by 2 equal to cos of omega means it is angular velocity. So we can write in place of omega as 2 pi by t into small t in place of omega. Omega equal to theta by t. So theta by t means for one complete oscillation we can write 2 pi by t. Now 2 pi by t into t equal to 1 by 2. So we know the value of cos 60. So what is the value of cos 60? Cos 60 is 1 by 2, or we can write cos of pi by 3. That gives 1 by 2. So what I am going to do here, in place of 1 by 2, I am going to write cos of pi by 3. Cos pi by 3 equal to cos 2 pi by t into small t. So calculate these value. So we will get small t equal to capital T divided by 6 seconds. Is it clear? So when we calculate the above equation, we will get t time interval is t by 6 seconds. So now time taken to complete a 3/8 oscillation. So time taken to complete 3 by 8 oscillation. How we wrote the equation? 3 by 8 equal to t of 1 by 4 plus t of 1 by 8. Substitute the value. So t of 1 by 4 means this is t by 4 plus 1 by 8. That means we got t divided by 6. Now calculate the value. So we will get the final answer 5t divided by 12. You can take the LCM. So time taken for 3/8 oscillation is 5t divided by 12. So 5 by 12 into t. That means option C is correct. When a current in a coil changes from 5 ampere to 2 ampere in 0.1 second, average velocity of 50 volt is produced. The self-inductance of the coil is. Very simple question. This is based on Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. You studied EMI chapter in class 12. That you can remember here, Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. That equation you can remember here. Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. So we know the equation for induced EMF. Induced EMF is given by the equation E equal to L di divided by dt. So what are the givens here? When a current in a coil changes from 5 ampere to 2 ampere, that means what is the value of di? Di is 5 minus 2 will be 3 ampere and time is given 0.1 second. Average voltage, that is induced EMF 50 volt. The self-inductance of the coil we have to calculate L. Substitute all the values in the given equation. 50 equal to L capacities, that will be 3 divided by 0.1 second. So L equal to, we can write 50 into 0.1 divided by 3. So we can write 5 by 3. So 5 by 3 is equal to what? 1.67. And the SI unit is Henry. So L equal to 1.67 Henry, that is option D is right. The table given below represents truth table for which of the following combination of logic gates. So which is the suitable combination of logic gates? Here truth table is already given. A and B are the input, Y is the resultant, that is output. So here First we have to know AND gate, OR gate and NOT gate. If you know about AND gate, OR gate and NOT gate, it is easy to find out the proper answer. Now I am going with the first option. See here, this symbol indicates AND gate. This symbol indicates OR gate. And this symbol that indicates NOT gate. AND gate, it is just like a multiplication. AND means we have to include both the values. OR, that means we have to take any one value. NOT means it is just like a inverse. If it is plus, we have to take minus. Minus will be plus, inverse. So first, I will show you the truth table of AND, OR and NOT. Then it is easy to find the proper answer. So for AND gate, I can write the truth table. First, I am going to write the input values. So 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. These are the input values. For AND gate, it is just like a multiplication. Right? So when you are going to multiply, 0 into 0 will be 0. 0 into 1 is 0. 1 into 0 is 0. 1 into 1 is 1. It is just like multiplication. AND means we have to include both the values. General meaning AND, that is including both the values. 1 and 1. So 1 into 1 will be 1. This is the truth table for AND gate. Now come to the OR gate. OR means either any one value we have to consider. Input values A, B and the resultant, that is output value, or we can write Y. 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. These are the input values. In OR gate, we have to write any one value. If any one is on, we should write on. That means 0, 0. Here answer is 0. 0, 1. 1 is present, so we can write 1. 1, 0. 1 is on, so we should write. So 1, 1. Both are on here, we should write 1. So this is the truth table for OR gate. Come to the NOT gate. For NOT gate, it is very easy. This is input and this is output. It is just like an inverse. Suppose input is 0, then output we have to write 1. Suppose input is 1, output should be 0. It is just an inverse. Right? And, OR, NOT, and also I show you the symbol for both 3 gates. Come to the first option. Let us substitute the values. First input for NAND gate. This is AND gate. For AND gate, initially 0, 0. Substitute here. Observe the diagram. 0 and 0 I am going to substitute. 0, 0. What is the resultant? Resultant is 0. Right. Come to the OR gate. OR gate inputs are. One is 0. Another one is also 0. So 0, 0 means output is what again? 0 for OR gate. So first 0, 0 should be 0. But here what they given? 0, 0 is 1. Means it is wrong. Means it is not the suitable logic gate. Come to the second option. Similarly, we have to check for the second option. Initially, the inputs are 0, 0. For AND gate, 0, 0 will be 0. So for OR gate, inputs are 0 and again 0. Here the output is 0. When for NOT gate, when we are putting 0 for NOT gate, so it is inverse. So what is the output here? 1. That means 0, 0 is 1. Right? Similarly, we have to check all the values. Next condition. I am going to put 0 and 1. Observe the second diagram. I am going to put 0 and 1. 0, 1. 0 and 1 are the input for AND gate. What is the value? 0, 1 means it is again 0. And here it is 1. 0 and 1 they are input for OR gate. 0, 1. Any one is on means we can take it as 1. 0 and 1 means output is 1 here. So 1 means, so NOT gate, that will be inverse of 1 is 0. So 0, 1 is 0. Then come to the third one. So now I am going to put 1 and 0. So what happens when we put 1 and 0 in these logic gates? 1, 0. So 1, 0 will be 0 for AND gate. 0, 0 will be 0 for OR gate. 0 through NOT gate will be 1. That means 1, 0 is 1. Then last point. So last I am going to put 1, 1, 1, 1. For AND gate we will get 1. 1, 1 for OR gate we will get 1. So 1 for NOT gate, inverse of 1 is 0. So 1, 1 will be 0. So we got the same answer here. So that means the second logic gate combination is correct for the given truth table. The work function of aluminium is 4.2 electron volt. If two photons each of energy 3.5 electron volt strikes an electron of aluminium, then emission of electron will be. So first we have to know electron emission or emission of electron. What do you mean by emission of electron? See here, emission of electron refers to the process of an electron escaping from metal surface. Electron escaping from metal surface, that process we can call it as emission of electron. Now here what happens? The work function of aluminium is given 4.2 electron volt. The energy of two photons is given 3.5 electron volt. Remember, during this process, the energy of two photons cannot be added. When it is going to collide with the electron, that moment, so the energy of both the photon cannot be added. During that collision, the energy will be dissipated or the amount of energy will be wasted. And this energy is not sufficient to emerging it from the metal surface. So that emission of electron here, it is not possible. Why the emission of electron is not possible here? Because during the collision, it is releasing amount of energy that is completely dissipated. So during that process, for the emission of electron, that energy is not sufficient. So it is not possible. Emission of the electron is not possible. So electron escaping from metal surface, it is not possible for this moment. So not possible means option C is correct. A doubly ionized lithium atom is excited from its ground state n equal to 1 to n equal to 3 state. The wavelength of spectral lines are given by lambda 3 to lambda 3 1 and the transition from lambda 2 to 1. The ratios lambda 3 to 2 divided by lambda 3 1 and lambda 2 1 divided by lambda 3 1 are respectively. A doubly ionized lithium atom. So doubly ionized means lithium, that is 2 plus. So for doubly means we can write 3 minus 2, number of electron 3. For doubly we can write minus 2. So number of electron is equal to how much? 1. So this is just like a hydrogen atom. Right? Now we can use the equation 1 by lambda equal to, we know this equation. Rydberg constant R into 1 by n1 square minus 1 by n2 square. So here R indicates Rydberg's constant. Now substitute the values here. First I can take 1 lambda 3 2. 1 divided by lambda transition from 3 to second state 3 to 2 is equal to, so R is constant. Leave it. Remaining is what here? 1 by n1 square, 1 by n2 square. That means 1 by, so this is 3 to 2. 3 to 2 means how to write the equation? Initial value is how much? n1 is 2. 2 square will be 4 minus n2 value is 3. So we can write 3 square is 9. 1 by 4 minus 1 by 9. Calculate this value. We will get nearly 5 by 36. This is lambda 32 will be equal to 36 divided by 5. This is for lambda 3 to 2 transition. Now similarly solving for remaining, that is 3 1 and 2 1. See here for lambda 3 1, similarly lambda 3 1 is equal to, substitute the values. Lambda 3 1 means I can write Rydberg constant, leave it 1 by n1 square minus 1 by n2 square. So I can write 1 by n1 square will be 1 square 1 minus 1 divided by 3 square will be 9. Calculate this value, we will get lambda 3 1 is equal to 9 by 8. Then similarly for 1 by lambda 2 1, transition from 2 to 1 is equal to, we can write 1 by again 1 minus 1 by 4. So lambda 2 1 is equal to 4 divided by 3. We got the value of lambda transition from 2 to 1, from 3 to 1, from 3 to 2. Now we want the ratios. So here lambda 3 2 divided by lambda 3 1. Substitute the values. 3 2 is 36 by 5 into 3 1, that is 8 by 9. So the ratios, calculate the value, we will get 6.4. Similarly, lambda 2 1 divided by lambda 3 1 we have to calculate. Substitute the 2 1 value, that is 4 by 3. 3 1 value is 8 by 9. So the final answer we got is 1.2. Right? So 6.4 and 1.2. 6.4, 1.2. That is option C is right. Two wires A and B of the same material having radii in the ratio 1:2 and carry current in the ratio 4:1. The ratio of drift speed of electron A and B is, we know the current flowing through the conductor in terms of drift velocity. We already studied in our regular classes. Current flowing through the conductor, that is I equal to N E, drift velocity Vd into cross sectional area of the conductor A. This equation we can utilize. So we want the current in the ratio 4:1. That means I can take it as I1 divided by I2 equal to NEVD VD1 A1 divided by NEVD2 A2. This ratio easily we can calculate. I1 by I2 current ratios are given 4:1. 4 divided by 1 equal to. So N and E. Here electron density, number of electrons in the conductor is constant, capacities and velocity, drift velocity, capacities, and here A indicates cross sectional area of the wire, which is equal to pi r square. Let us write it as r1 square divided by NE, drift velocity Vd2, and here area for the second conductor for the same material having radius in the ratio 1:2 r2 square. Now substitute the values. NE will get cancelled, remaining is drift velocity Vd1, Vd2 capacities, pi get cancelled, radius is in the ratio 1:2, that is 1 square, 1 divided by 2 square will be 4. So then what is the answer? 4 by 1 equal to Vd1 divided by Vd2 into 1 by 4. Or we can write it as Vd1 divided by Vd2 equal to velocity, drift velocity. The ratio of drift velocity is equal to 4 into 4 divided by 1 into 1. 4 4s are 16. So 16 divided by 1. So then what is the answer? Drift velocities ratios Vd1 is to Vd2 equal to 16:1. So 16:1, that is option A is right. A stone is thrown with a velocity u making an angle theta. With the horizontal, the distance covered by its fall to ground is maximum when the angle theta is equal to. See here, a stone is thrown with a velocity u, making an angle theta. So this is a projectile motion. You studied in your class 11. A stone is thrown with a velocity u. It is thrown in this direction and it is making angle theta with the horizontal. This is theta. It is moving with initial velocity u. The horizontal distance covered by its fall to ground. So finally it will reaches the ground here when the angle theta is equal to. So we know the range of horizontal plane equation. In projectile motion you already studied. So range of horizontal plane. Range on horizontal plane. Range on horizontal plane means we have the equation r equal to u square sine 2 theta divided by g. This equation we can use and we have to find when it is maximum. So range of horizontal plane is maximum. Observe the equation. It is maximum when sine 2 theta equal to 1. So it is maximum when sine 2 theta is equal to 1. So when sine 2 theta is equal to 1, then we will get r equal to u square by g and this will be maximum. But here at what angle it is maximum? We have to find the value of theta here. Sine 2 theta equal to 1. Here I can write it as sine 2 into pi by 4 is equal to 1. So 2 1s are 2, 2 2s are 4. Sine of pi by 2 equal to 1. So what is the value of sine 90? Sine 90 is 1, right? So sine 90 is equal to 1. So I can take sine pi by 4 here. 2 and 2 will get cancelled. So what in place of theta what we substituted here? Pi by 4. So theta equal to pi by 4. That means range on horizontal plane is maximum when theta equal to pi divided by 4. Pi by 4 means how much here? 45 degree. That is option C. A 25 centimeter long solenoid has radius 2 centimeter and 500 total number of turns. It carries a current of 15 ampere if it is equivalent to a magnet of the same size and magnetization. Magnetization means magnetic moment per unit volume. Then mod M is a 25 centimeter long solenoid and 500 number of turns. It carries 15 ampere. So we have to find the magnetization. Magnetization is M, which is equal to magnetic moment per unit volume. So magnetic moment means we have the equation NIA divided by volume means we can write area into length. So area will get cancelled. We will get the value Ni divided by L. Ni, L values are given. Substitute here. M equal to Ni divided by L. N is given. Total number of turns is 500 into the current flowing is 15 ampere divided by length 25 centimeter. 25 centimeter means we can write 25 into 10 raised to minus 2 meter. So calculate the values. We will get magnetization M equal to 30,000 ampere per meter. So magnetization, the value is 30,000 ampere per meter. So 30,000 ampere per meter. Option C is right. ABC is an equilateral triangle charges Q plus Q are placed at each corners as shown in the figure. The electric intensity at the center O will be electric field due to plus Q charge. See here, we have to find electric intensity at the center from the positive charges which are kept at the each corner of the triangle. So electric field, we know that electric field due to plus Q charge of edge point, let us take B, edge B at center. How to write the equation? E equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. Here we can write Q divided by R square. This is the equation. Same as due to charges at the edge A and C. It is similarly for A and C. Same for A and C. Means the charges at the edge point A and C. That means EA, EB and EC. These are equal. Electric field at A, B, C. They are equal. Now let us find the resultant electric field. Let us take first resultant of EB and EC. These two values, resultant value first we have to calculate. We know the resultant value, that is A square plus B square plus 2AB cos theta. In similar way, we can write EB square plus EC square plus 2EB into EC cos. Here the value is 120, 60 plus 60, cos of 120. Then cos 120 is minus 1 by 2. So resultant vector we can get EB square plus, in place of EC I can write EB because we know that EB is equal to EC. So EB square I can write here plus 2EB into EB into cos of 120 is minus 1 by 2. So we will get ER equal to root of EB square, which is equal to simply EB. Because here minus 1 by 2, 2 and 2 will get cancelled, minus EB square plus EB square will get cancelled, remaining is simply resultant vector EB equal to ER equal to EB. So in the similar way we can find for EA and EB. So the magnitude of EA, EB, EC are equal, but they are in the opposite direction. Equal in magnitude, opposite in direction. Then what happens at the central point of the triangle? Electric field at the center, electric intensity at the center will be 0. See here, we got for EB and EC. Similarly for EB and EA, they are also equal in magnitude and opposite in direction. So what happens? So electric field at the central point at O is 0, right? So electric intensity at the center O is 0 because they are equal in magnitude, opposite in direction. The figure shows the path of a positively charged particle 1. So this is the particle 1. It shows the path of positive charged particle. Means it is moving in this direction, in upward direction, through a rectangular region of uniform electric field as shown in the figure. What is the direction of electric field and the directions of particle 2, 3 and 4? So how to find their path and their direction? They given the path of the first particle, where the first particle is moving. It is moving in the upward direction. Means it starts to move at the top of this rectangular region. Here this is first particle is a positively charged particle. We know that the direction of positively charged particles are along the direction of electric field. That concept you have to remember here. Direction of positive charges are along the direction of electric field. This point you should remember here. Now, when this positive charge, when the first particle is moving in the upward direction, that indicates electric field is also in the upward direction. What is the question here? What is the direction of electric field? What is the direction of electric field? That is along the positively charged particle, means it is top. So, top means either A or B option will be right. Then, second point, the direction of particle 2, 3 and 4. When positive charges are moving in upward, means negative charge should be downward. See here, electric field is moving in the top, means it is moving in the upward direction because it is along the positive charge. Then come to the second particle. Second particle is negative charged particle. When it is negative, it should be opposite to the positively charged particle. If the positive charge is moving upward, the negative charge should be moved downward. Right? Second particle is moving in the downward direction. Come to the third particle is positive charge. Third particle is positive charge, means it is moving in the upward direction along the direction of electric field. So it is also top. Then come to the fourth particle, it is a negative, which is moving opposite to the direction of positive charge or opposite to the direction of electric field. So it is moving in the downward direction. So what is answer? Top, down, which is the correct option here. Top, down means option A is right. A circular disc of radius r is made from an iron plate of thickness T and another circular disc B of radius 4r is made from an iron plate of thickness T by 4. The relation between the moments of inertia IA and IB is, in class 11 system of particles and rigid body, there you studied moment of inertia. So moment of inertia is given by the equation I equal to mr square. This equation you can remember here. But you can observe the given question. This is a circular disc. So for circular disc, moment of inertia is given by the equation I equal to 1 by 2 mr square. So this equation we have to use to find the relation between moment of inertia for A and B disc. First, we can solve the moment of inertia for the disc A. See here, I am going to write moment of inertia. Let us take IA for the first disc, IA equal to, so we know the equation mr square, 1 by 2 keep as it is, mr square. Let us take it as RA square. This is radius of the A disc. Substitute the value IA equal to 1 by 2 into mass. Mass is not given here, but we know the relation for density. So we know that density rho equal to mass per unit volume or mass equal to rho divided by, rho into volume. So mass equal to, we can write rho into volume. So in place of mass, I am going to write rho into volume, and remaining is radius. Radius of the first disc is given, that is r. Means simply we can write r square, or I can write it as 1 by 2 into rho into volume. Volume means I can write it as area into length into r square capacities, or 1 by 2 into rho into, so area of the disc we can write pi r square. So it is equivalent to circle. So in place of A, I am going to write pi r square into length is equivalent to thickness. So here it is given, length is how much, or length is equal to thickness here. So let us take in place of L as T into r square. Now the moment of inertia for disc A, we will get rho pi r raised to 4 T and then 1 by 2 pi r raised to 4 into T. So this is the value of moment of inertia of the first disc. So this is the moment of inertia for the disc A. Similarly, we have to find moment of inertia for the disk B. What is the equation? Half mRB square. Similarly, substitute the values in the second disk, IB equal to. So 1 by 2 keep as it is. In place of mass, I am directly going to write density into area. In place of area, I can write pi r square into length. Length means thickness. Thickness is given T by 4 into r square. So radius of the second disk is given disk 4r. 4r square. Now IB equal to, we will get the value here 1 by 2 rho pi r square T divided by 4 into 4r square 16 r raised to 4. Now final equation we will get IB equal to 32 pi r raised to 4 T into rho. So this is the value of IB and this is the value of IA. Now we want which is greater, either IB or IA. See the value of IB and IA, which is greater here. So directly we can write IB is greater than IA because it is 1 by 2 rho pi r raised to 4 into T. Pi r raised to 4 T rho, everything is same here in both the cases. But here it is 1 by 2 but it is 32 times. So from IA and IB we came to know that IA and IB, when we compare these two, IA is less than IB, or we can write IB is greater than IA. IA is less than IB means option C is correct. Einstein's work on photoelectric effect provided support for the equation. Einstein's work on photoelectric effect. See here, Einstein's photoelectric effect and Compton effect. These two effects you have studied in dual nature of light. Einstein's photoelectric effect as well as Compton effect. These two are established for particle nature of light and these effects can be explained only when we assume that light has particle nature. To explain interference and diffraction, light must have wave nature. When you are going to explain interference and diffraction, light must have wave nature. It means that light has both particle and wave nature. So we are going to call it as dual nature of light. Here Einstein's work on photoelectric effect that provided support for the equation E equal to h nu because it explains both particle nature and wave nature of the light. This is the suitable equation for Einstein's photoelectric effect. A metallic bar is heated from 0 degree Celsius to 100 degree Celsius. The coefficient of linear expansion is 10 raised to minus 5 per Kelvin. What will be the percentage increase in the length? You already studied thermal properties of matter in class 11, linear expansion, superficial expansion and cubical expansion. And now this question is related to linear expansion of the metallic bar. So we know the equation L equal to L naught 1 plus alpha delta T. Here alpha is coefficient of linear expansion, or we can write the equation alpha equal to, directly we can use the equation delta L divided by L equal to alpha delta T. I am going to use this equation because what will be the percentage increase in the length, that we have to calculate. Delta L by L and alpha delta T values are given. Substitute the value. Delta L divided by L. So it is in terms of percentage. Let us write into 100. So that gives in terms of percentage is equal to alpha value is given coefficient of linear expansion 10 raised to minus 5 per Kelvin into delta T change in temperature. That is, initial it is 0, final temperature is 100, 100 minus 0 is again 100. Substitute the values. So we will get 10 raised to minus 5 into 10 raised to 2, that is 10 raised to minus 3. Right? So 10 raised to minus 3 into 100. In terms of percentage means 10 raised to minus 3, it is multiplied by 100. So we will get 10 raised to minus 3 plus 2 will be minus 1. So 10 raised to minus 1 means 1 by 10, which is equal to 0.1%. So 0.1% is increase in the length of metallic bar. 0.1% option B is correct. A rough vertical board has an acceleration A along horizontal so that a block of mass m pressing against it does not fall. The coefficient of friction between block and the board is. This is a rough vertical board, and this board we are moving along the horizontal direction with acceleration A. In this direction we are moving that vertical board. And against that vertical board we are pressing a block of mass m. So when we move that vertical board against this block of mass m, so it does not fall down. Then the coefficient of friction between block and the board is. We have to find coefficient of friction. So we know that there are three types of friction: static friction, kinetic friction and rolling friction. Here it is moving, so we can take kinetic friction. Coefficient of kinetic friction is denoted by the symbol mu k. So first observe the equations here. So weight of this block is acting vertically downward, so we can write W equal to mg, and there is a friction between block and this vertical board. So here the vertical friction between them I am going to write it as F, but here it is friction, so we can write mu m into A, that is coefficient of friction and frictional force. So now to balance the weight, it does not fall down. That means here weight of the block and the friction, that should be balanced. So we can move that block in the horizontal direction. See here, the force on M is how much? Ma or mg, and normal force or normal reaction, or we can take reaction force, is equal to m into A, that is in upward direction. Similarly, frictional force between that vertical board and that block of mass. Frictional force for kinetic friction we can write mu into R or mu k into R. So mu into, in place of R, reactional force is how much? M into A. Now force of friction that will balance the weight of the block. Force of friction or frictional force will balance, that will balance the weight. When it balances the weight, that means it should be equal or greater than these values. That means frictional force is mu into ma, that should be greater or equal to reactional force, that is mg. So here, which is greater compared to mu? Coefficient of friction between block and the board is, mu is greater or equal to G divided by A. Right, because m will get cancelled, we will get mu is greater than or equal to G divided by A. So that is option D is correct. What should be minimum value of refractive index of the material of the prism for the reflection to take place as shown in the figure? So you already studied in ray optics in class 12. So from the figure it is clear that angle of incidence is how much? See here, these are the incident rays. When incident ray falls on refracting surface of the prism, So it is a normal incidence. So it is undeviated, moving in a straight line. When the same ray of light falls on another refracting surface of the prism, here it is going to incident at 45 degree. This is angle of incidence and this is a normal. And here it is 45 degree. So totally it is turning back with 90 degree. Again it is going to fall on third refracting surface of the prism. One more time refraction of light takes place. Finally this ray of light is emerges. So here total internal reflection of light takes place in that prism. So we can use this method in binoculars or in any optical instruments. Now here angle of incidence is 45 degree. So angle of incidence is 45 degree means we can use the equation sin C equal to 1 divided by n. We want the minimum value of refractive index, so n equal to 1 divided by sin C. So n equal to 1 divided by sine of critical angle. So here critical angle is equal to angle of incidence. So in place of C I can write 45 degree. N equal to root 2 or n equal to 1.4. So the minimum refractive index of the material of the prism for the reflection to takes place in the figure, that gives n equal to 1.4. Plates of area A are arranged as shown. The distance between each plate is d. The net capacitance is. Observe the diagram. So we have to make it easy. I am going to redraw the diagram. See here. This is the parallel plate capacitors. This is the point A and this is the point B. I am going to redraw the same diagram. Observe the diagram here. This is the terminal point or the point A. And here is another point B. So from the point A, there is one parallel plate capacitor. I am going to draw here. This is one parallel plate capacitor from the point A. Let us take it is fourth one. Then I am going to draw the third parallel plate capacitor. So which is again connected to what? B. Observe the third parallel plate capacitor. It is connected to B. Right. Then so from again the same point A terminal, so which is connected to B, means here, right? And then come to the first one. Here it is. So now this is the given parallel plate capacitor arrangement. We have to redraw the given diagram to make it easy. We know the capacitance of a parallel plate capacitor. Capacitance of parallel plate capacitor is given by the equation you already studied in your regular classes. C equal to epsilon naught A divided by D. This is the equation for capacitance of a parallel plate capacitor. Epsilon naught A divided by D. So which is the right equation here? Option A is correct. A plane wave of wavelength 6250 angstrom unit is incident normally on a slit of width 2 into 10 raised to minus 2 centimeter. The width of principal maximum on a screen distant 50 centimeter will be. You already studied about in wave optics. You have studied Young's double slit experiment. You already studied diffraction of light. On that topic, you have this equation. See here, width of central maximum. Directly we have the equation for central maximum. I am going to write x equal to lambda d divided by a. What is x here? X is distance from central maximum to first secondary minima. Central maximum to first secondary minima. Then linear width of central maximum. Linear width of central maximum. We can write 2x. Here 2 into x value is lambda d by a. 2 lambda d by a. This equation we have to use to calculate the width of principal maximum on the screen. Here, the width of central maximum 2 lambda d by a values, everything is given here. If you know the equation, directly substitute the values. Wavelength is given 6250 angstrom unit, means 10 raised to minus 10 meter, and distance is given 50 centimeter, can be written as 0.5 meter, divided by the value of A is given, that is slit width 2 into 10 raised to minus 2 centimeter. So convert into meter, that is 10 raised to minus 4. Calculate these value. So we will get 3125 into 10 raised to minus 6 meter. 3125 into 10 raised to minus 6 meter, or we can write 312.5 into 10 raised to minus 3 centimeter. The answer is 312.5 into 10 raised to minus 3 centimeter. So the option A is right. The heat radiated per unit area in 1 hour by a furnace whose temperature is 3000 Kelvin is sigma equal to 5.7 into 10 raised to minus 8 watt per meter square per Kelvin raised to 4. According to Stephen's law, because here sigma value is given, temperature is given, so we can use directly Stephen's law that you studied in thermal properties of matter. See here, first I will tell you Stephen's statement, Stephen's law. What it states, Stephen's law? The total radiant energy, the total radiant heat energy or heat power emitted from a surface is proportional to the fourth power of its absolute temperature, which is given by the equation E equal to sigma T raised to 4. E equal to, E indicates the total radiant heat energy emitted from the surface, which is proportional to fourth power of the temperature. Sigma is given 5.7 into 10 raised to minus 8 into absolute temperature. Temperature is given, that is 3000 Kelvin. Substitute the value. Here heat is radiated per unit area, that is in 1 hour. 1 hour is equal to 3600 seconds. So we can write T raised to 4, that is 3000 raised to 4. But here this is the heat radiated per unit area per second. But here they given 1 hour. So we know that 1 hour is equal to how much? 3600 seconds. This is for 1 second. So let us multiply it by 3600 seconds. So we will get the final answer, that is 1.7 into 10 raised to 10 joules. So this is the heat radiated per unit area. So 1.7 into 10 raised to 10 joules, option A is right. A gun fires 2 bullets at 60 degree and 30 degree width horizontal. The bullets strikes at some horizontal distance. The ratio of maximum height for the 2 bullets is in the ratio of. The bullets are fired at the same initial speed. See here, the bullets are fired at the same initial speed. We have the equation, that is h equal to, this is the maximum height, h equal to u square sine square theta divided by 2g. This equation we can use to find the maximum height. You studied in projectile motion in class 11. We can use this equation. There are 2 bullets. Let us take the ratio of maximum height as h divided by h dash. We have to find the ratios of these two values for the 2 bullets. Let us write u square sine square theta. Theta is 60 degree for the first bullet divided by 2g into h dash for the second bullet 2g divided by u square sine square theta is 30 degree. So what we can get, 2g will get cancelled, u square initial velocity is the same. So remaining is sine square 60 degree divided by sine square 30 degree. Or we can write sine 60 is root 3 by 2 square, sine 30 is 1 by 2, that is square. So what we can get, by squaring I will get 3 divided by 1 because 2 will get cancelled here again. So 3 by 1. The maximum height for 2 bullets is in the ratio 3:1. So 3:1 means option B is right. A generator has an EMF of 440 volt and internal resistance 400 ohm. Its terminals are connected to a load of 4000 ohm. The voltage across the load is. So you already studied about AC generator in class 12, that is in chapter alternating current we have studied. First we can write the total resistance of the circuit. What is the total resistance here? Total resistance of the circuit, that is 400 ohm plus 4000. Internal resistance is 400 ohm and the load added to the circuit is having resistance 4000 ohm. So the total resistance of the circuit is 4400 ohm. And we know the equation, that is according to Ohm's law. So we know that V equal to IR or I equal to V divided by R. So V is given, that is 440 volt divided by resistance. Total resistance is 4400. So we will get 0.1 ampere. So we got electric current as well as total resistance. Now voltage across the load. Voltage across the load we have to calculate. Voltage across the load, that means V equal to IR. So V equal to, so resistance here, the terminal is connected to a load is having resistance 4000 and electric current is how much? 0.1 and resistance is 4000. So voltage across the load is 400 volt. So this is voltage across the load. So 400 volt means option D is correct. Electric field inside a copper wire of length 10 meter, resistance 2 ohm connected to 10 volt battery. So we have directly we are having the equation electric field E equal to V divided by L. Very simple question. E equal to V divided by L. What is the value of V? V is given, that is battery 10 volt divided by L is given, that copper wire is having length 10 meter. So 10 by 10 will be how much? 1 volt per meter. So 1 volt per meter is electric field inside a copper wire. Option A is right. The path difference between the two waves, here it is given two equations. Y1 equal to A1 sine omega t minus 2 pi x divided by lambda and Y2 equal to A2 sine omega t minus 2 pi x divided by lambda plus pi will be. So from these two equations of waves we have to find the path difference between them. So phase difference is denoted by the symbol pi. See here, phase difference is denoted by pi and path difference is given by the equation lambda divided by 2 pi into phase difference. Or we can write lambda divided by 2 pi, phase difference is here pi from the equation. So from the equation you can observe A1 sine omega t minus, let us observe this point, 2 pi x by lambda, here also 2 pi x by lambda plus pi. So pi is the phase difference. So the path difference we got lambda divided by 2 pi into pi. So the path difference between the two waves is option C, lambda by 2 pi into pi. The diagram shows the energy levels for an electron in a certain atom. Which transition shown represents the emission of a photon with the most energy? Observe the energy level diagram and find out which can emit the more amount of energy. See here we have the equation for energy level E equal to RHC into 1 by N1 square minus 1 by N2 square. Here E will be maximum, N2 is higher energy level. So if N2 is having higher energy level, then clearly 1 by N1 square minus 1 by N2 square, it is maximum for the third transition. Third transition you can observe N2. Here transition takes place from N equal to 2 to N equal to 1. Second energy level to first energy level. Here it can emit the more amount of energy. So we can write the third transition is right. During an adiabatic compression, 830 joule of work is done on 2 moles of a diatomic ideal gas to reduce its volume by 50%. The change in its temperature is nearly. We already studied in class 11 in thermodynamics, adiabatic compression, right? So directly we can use the equation. First we can write the givens here. Work done is given W equal to 830 joules. Number of moles of the gas and it is denoted by the symbol mu. Number of moles is given 2 moles. And then for diatomic gas, we know the value of gamma is equal to 1.4. This is for diatomic gas molecules. And then here this is adiabatic compression. We have the direct equation. Work done during an adiabatic process, an adiabatic change. What is the equation? W equal to mu R T1 minus T2 divided by gamma minus 1. W equal to, or W is already given, substitute the value. Work done is 830 is equal to 2 into 8.3 into delta T we have to calculate, that is change in temperature, and 1.4 minus 1 capacities. So delta T equal to, we will get 830 into 0.4 divided by 2 into 8.3. So calculate these value, we will get the final answer. Change in temperature we got 20 Kelvin. So the change in temperature is nearly equal to 20 Kelvin, that is option C. A body of mass 10 kg and velocity is 10 meter per second collides with a stationary body of mass 5 kg. After collision, both bodies stick to each other. Velocity of the bodies after collision will be, see here, a body of mass 10 kg, it is moving with velocity 10 meter per second. Now it is going to collide with stationary object of mass 5 kg. Here its velocity is 0 because it is stationary, it is at rest. After collision, both the bodies stick together, both will be attached together after collision. Then velocity of the bodies after collision will be, after collision what is their velocity? So here we know that velocity after collision means, directly I am going to use the equation. V equal to m1 v1 plus m2 v2 divided by m1 plus m2. So you studied center of mass for two particles of a system. Similarly, we can write this modified equation for velocity after collision. V equal to mass of the first particle is 10 kg, velocity is 10 meter per second, plus mass of the second object is 5 kg and its velocity is 0 because it is at rest. M1 plus M2 is 10 plus 5. So V equal to, we will get 100 divided by 15, or we can write 20 by 3 meter per second. So velocity of the bodies after collision is 20 by 3 meter per second. That is option D. Two particles of mass m1 and m2. m1 is greater than m2 attract each other with a force inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. If the particles are initially held at rest and then released, then the center of mass will be. See here, there are two particles. Let us take the first particle is m1 and the second particle is m2. Here they given the condition m1 is greater than m2 and they attracted each other with a force which is inversely proportional to square of the distance. Let us take the distance is d between them. If the particles are initially held at rest, then released, then center of mass will be. What is the position of center of mass? See here, the center of mass remains at rest. It is not changing its position. Center of mass remains at rest. So why it remains at rest? Because of mutual force of attraction. So both are attracted with each other because of the force it is given in the problem. Because of force of attraction, that force is mutual force. Both are equally attracted in magnitude. Both are having same magnitude and opposite in direction. So they attracted each other. So their magnitude of force is mutual and it is equal. So when it is equal, then the center of mass does not changes. So you can see here the force of attraction. The force of attraction is mutual. So when the force of attraction is mutual, there is no external force. So center of mass is at rest. So if it is at rest, then option C is right. The center of mass will remain at rest. Which of the following graph represents the variation of thermo-EMF of a thermocouple with temperature theta of hot junction? The cold junction being kept at 0 degrees Celsius. See here, thermo-EMF. What do you mean by thermo-EMF? So by utilizing certain amount of heat energy, we are going to produce EMF, that is electromotive force. So we are going to call it as thermo-EMF. To understand this concept, I am going to take one example. If I am going to take copper, iron, thermocouple. This is one thermocouple, copper, iron. What I am going to do, the one junction of the copper is kept in hot oil. Another junction of the iron is kept in ice. Here that cold junction is maintained at constant temperature. So when it is kept in that hot oil, when we dip thermometer, it shows increase in the temperature. With the help of this value, we are going to produce thermo-EMF. Now we have to find which graph represents thermo-EMF. Remember, thermo-EMF, this is temperature, this is thermo-EMF, let us write it as E. Usually, we are using potentiometer to find the value of thermo-EMF. Here, initially, the EMF value go on increases, it reaches maximum value. and when it reaches maximum value, this temperature we are going to call it as neutral temperature. You are going to study in your higher education. This is neutral temperature when it reaches maximum value. After that, it gone decreases. At a particular temperature, it decreases. So, we are going to call it as temperature inversion. Right? So, this is the graphical representation of thermo EMF versus temperature. So, by utilizing heat energy, you are going to produce EMF. So, the right option is C. This is option C. This is right. The RMS velocity of oxygen molecule at 16 degrees Celsius is 474 meter per second. The RMS velocity in meter per second of hydrogen molecule is 127 degree Celsius. The RMS velocity of oxygen, see here, the Vrms, it is given by the equation 3 root of 3 RT divided by M. So this equation you have to remember to find the RMS value of hydrogen. Here it given oxygen value. So oxygen, Vrms value for oxygen I am going to write 3R into. So temperature of oxygen is given 16 degrees Celsius plus 273. Convert into Kelvin, we will get 289 Kelvin. Substitute here 289 divided by mass of the oxygen, that is 32. So we will get, this is all about Vrms value of oxygen. Similarly, we can find for hydrogen. So hydrogen velocity, Vrms value of hydrogen, I can write 3R into. So 127 degrees Celsius for hydrogen temperature is given 127 plus 273. So we will get 400 Kelvin. Substitute here 400 divided by mass of the hydrogen is 2. Substitute here, we will get 2230.59 meter per second. Is it clear? So the RMS value of velocity of hydrogen molecule is 2230.59 meter per second. Option C is right. When the RMS voltages VL, VC and VR are measured respectively across the inductor L, capacitor C and resistor R in a series LCR circuit connected to an AC source, it is found that the ratios VL is to VC is to VR equal to 1 is to 2 is to 3. If the RMS voltage of AC source is 100 volt, then VR is close to. You already studied series LCR circuit in alternating current in class 12. So we can use the equation. First we can write down the givens. VL is to VC is to VR equal to how much? 1 is to 2 is to 3. Or I am going to write it as VC equal to 2 times of VL, VR equal to 3 times of VL. We can use this value. And we have the equation for series LCR circuit, that is V equal to root of VR square plus VL minus VC whole square. Use this equation, V equal to VR square. What is the value of VR? So in place of VR, I am going to write 3VL, that is 3 square, means 9VL square plus VL capacities minus, what is the value of VC? VC is 2 times of VL whole square. So V equal to, we can write 9VL square plus VL square. Because VL minus 2VL will be VL. So V equal to, I am going to write it as root of 10 into VL. So we want the value of VR. So I am going to write it as V equal to root 10 in place of VL. What we can write here, you can observe VL equal to VR divided by 3. In place of VL, I can write VR divided by 3. So this is for VR value, we will get, that is VR equal to 3 V root 3V divided by root 10. So VR equal to 3 into voltage is given 100 volt divided by root 10. Calculate this value, we will get nearly 94.86 volt. 94.86 volt is nearly equivalent to 90 volt. So option C is right. If it is more than 95, you can write 100 volt. But it is less than 95, so we can take option C, 90 volt. The oscillating electric and magnetic field vectors of electromagnetic waves are oriented along. We already studied electromagnetic waves, right? So electric and magnetic field lines are propagating along the direction of speed of light, and they are mutually perpendicular to each other. You can remember this is electric field lines, and similarly we are going to take these are magnetic field lines, right? So what is the suitable option? Option C. The direction of oscillations of electric field lines and magnetic field lines are perpendicular to each other as well as their direction of propagation. So electromagnetic waves are transverse in nature. Electromagnetic waves are transverse in nature. They are perpendicular to each other and also perpendicular to the direction of propagation. So the option C is right, that is mutually perpendicular direction, and also they are in phase with each other. The gravitational field in a region is given by the equation G equal to 5 Newton per kg I cap plus 12 Newton per kg J cap. The change in gravitational potential energy of a particle of mass 1 kg when it is taken from the origin to the point 7 meter minus 3 meter is. So we know that here gravitational field is given. Gravitational field, I am going to write it as I equal to, it is given 5 I cap plus 12 J cap in terms of Newton per kg. Here it is given in this equation 5 plus 12, 5 I cap plus 12 J cap. And the relation between gravitational field and gravitational potential equation. It is just like electric field and electric potential. Electric field and electric potential. Likewise, we have the relation between gravitational field and gravitational potential. Just like electric field and electric potential. So the equation is I equal to minus dV divided by dr. We can use this equation, right? Now here this equation can be written as, when d by dr is taken on LHS side, so differentiation will become integration. I is equal to minus V. D by dr when it is taken on LHS side, so it is equal to integration, or I can write minus of integration of I equal to V, or V equal to minus integration of I. V equal to minus keep as it is, integration of I. This is for x and y axis. For x and y axis, I am going to take, this is for x and y component, I can write it as integration of Ix into dx, integrating with respect to x component from the limit 0 to x, plus integration of Iy into dy from the limit 0 to y. It is general equation. or we can write V equal to minus, keep as it is. So here the x and y components are given 7 meter and minus 3 meter. Substitute here. I can write here, first we have to integrate the value. Ix take outside. Remaining is what? Integration of dx. Integration of dx is x from the limit 0 to x plus iy take outside. Integration of dy is y from the limit 0 to y. V equal to minus, keep as it is, ix into x from the limit 0 to x. 0 to x means for the x component I can write 0 to 7 plus iy, keep as it is. For y component we can write 0 to minus 3 upper limit. So V equal to, substitute the value ix and iy means the values are 5 and 12. Substitute minus, keep as it is, 5 x 0 to 7 plus 12 y 0 to minus 3. Now write down the upper limit and lower limit values. Upper limit minus lower limit, minus, keep as it is, 5. Upper limit is what? 7. 7 minus 0 plus 12, keep as it is, minus 3 minus 0. So now we will get V equal to minus 7 5s are 35. So plus, and here 12 3s are minus 36. Or we can write minus 35 plus into minus 36. So we will get 1 joule per kg. That is change in gravitational potential per kg. Change in gravitational potential is how much? 1 joule. That is change in gravitational potential energy is 1 joule. So option D is right. At 0 degree Kelvin, which of the following properties of a gas will be 0? See the question. At 0 degree Kelvin, which of the following properties of a gas will be 0? Temperature is directly proportional to, as the temperature increases, first kinetic energy of the particles will be increased, because as we are supplying the heat energy, temperature increases, so all the particles will be activated, they start to vibrate about their mean position, they start to move, right? So for the gas molecules, when the temperature increases, the movement or speed of the particles also increases. So at 0 degree Celsius, which of the following properties of a gas will be 0? The kinetic energy is directly proportional to temperature. So now tell me which is the right option. So option A is right, because temperature and kinetic energy both are directly proportional. When temperature decreases, kinetic energy also decreases. A galvanometer coil has a resistance of 15 ohm and gives full scale deflection for a current of 4 milliampere. To convert it to an ammeter of range 0 to 6 ampere. And you studied in moving charge and magnetism conversion of galvanometer into ammeter. Directly we can use the equation. See here, first we can write the givens. G value is given, galvanometer coil of resistance G equal to 15 ohm, and the full scale deflection current is given 4 milliampere, and then to convert the range of ammeter 0 to 6 ampere, let us take I equal to 6 ampere. So for shunt resistance or for conversion of galvanometer into ammeter, we have the equation S equal to Ig divided by I minus Ig into G. So this equation directly we can use, substitute the value. then we will get the final answer. So now in place of Ig we can write S equal to 4 into 10 raised to minus 3 because it is in terms of milliampere. Then I minus Ig is 6 minus 4 into 10 raised to minus 3 into 15. So the value of S is 0.01 ohm, or that is equal to 10 milliohm, which is connected in parallel. So now tell me which is the right option. That is 10 milliohm resistance is to be connected in parallel, not in series. So option A is right. A uniform rod of mass M, length L, area A has Young's modulus Y. If it is hanged vertically, elongation under its own weight will be. This is mechanical properties of solid. In class 11 you have studied about Young's modulus, bulk modulus and shearing modulus. Now we have the direct equation for Young's modulus, that is Y equal to FL divided by A into delta L. So this equation you can use here. We want change in the length, elongation under its own weight. So delta L equal to, we can write F L divided by Y into A. F means we can write M G L divided by Y into A. So delta L equal to M G L divided by Y into A, which is the right option. Option C. The magnifying power of a telescope is 9. When it is adjusted for parallel rays, the distance between objective and the eyepiece is found to be 20 cm. The focal length of lenses are. See here, magnifying power of telescope is given by the equation magnifying power of telescope is M equal to FO divided by FE, focal length of objective lens and focal length of eyepiece. And here it is given magnifying power of telescope is 9, 9 equal to FO divided by FE, or FO equal to, we can write 9 times of focal length of eyepiece. This is focal length of objective lens. And also we have the equation that the total length between eyepiece and objective lens, length between eyepiece and objective lens, that is FO plus FE, is given, that is 20 cm. The distance between objective and eyepiece, FO plus FE, or sometimes we can write it as L. FO plus FE equal to, it is given 20 cm. Now here in place of FE or in place of FO, we can write 9 FE plus FE equal to 20, or we can write 10 FE equal to 20, FE equal to 20 by 10, that gives 10 centimeter, sorry 2 centimeter. 2 centimeter. Here remember, the final image is formed at infinity in the telescope, which is used to see the heavenly bodies which are completely away from the observer. Now what we have to calculate? Focal length of the lens. FE is how much? 2 cm. Similarly, therefore FO equal to 9 times of FE, that is FO equal to 9 to the 18 cm. Right? So 2 cm and 18 cm are the focal length of objective lens and eyepiece. So 18 cm and 2 cm means option A is right. If two soap bubbles of different radii are connected by a tube, then see here, there are two soap bubbles. Let us take the radii are different and they are connected by a tube. Remember, the excess pressure inside the soap bubble, the pressure inside the soap bubble is inversely proportional to the radius of the soap bubble. This condition you have to remember. The pressure inside the air bubble is inversely proportional to its radius. That means if the bubble is small, it is having high pressure. If the bubble is large, then it is having low pressure. High pressure is present in small bubble, low pressure will be in large bubble. Thus, if these two bubbles are connected by a tube, then air will flow from smaller bubble to bigger bubble, and the bigger bubble that grows at the expense of smaller one, and this bigger bubble that grows at the expense of smaller one, because smaller one that coalesce into bigger bubble that will be mixed and this bigger bubble will grow. Remember, air will flow from smaller bubble to bigger bubble because of their pressure. Pressure inside the smaller will be very high because it is having less radius. So the suitable equation is air flows from smaller bubble to the bigger bubble. That means option A is right. In a transistor, options are given. Both emitter and collector have same length. Second one, length of emitter is greater than that of collector. Third one, length of collector is greater than that of emitter. And fourth one, any one of emitter and collector can have greater length. Remember, in a transistor, so if I am going to consider NPN transistor, for NPN transistor, this is NPN transistor. If I am going to take, this is collector and this will be emitter, and here I can draw the base, right, for NPN transistor. Similarly for PNP transistor, here this is collector, emitter, and this is base. As we know that the main function of collector, what is the main function of collector? It is used to collect the charge carriers in the collector region. It will collect the charge carriers. Due to the interaction of the charge carriers, the collector region heats up and all the heat is dissipated through this region. So, in order to save the transistor from burning, the collector is always larger than that of emitter as well as base region. Is it clear? So, which is having the greater length here? Collector. So, why the collector is having larger length? To save that transistor from burning. So, which is the right option here? So, the right option is C. Length of collector is greater than that of the emitter. The total length of a sonometer wire between fixed ends is 110 cm. Two bridges are placed to divide the length of a wire in the ratio 6:3:2. The tension in the wire is 400 Newton and the mass per unit length is 0.01 kg per meter. What is the minimum common frequency with which three parts can vibrate? The common frequency for the three parts we have to calculate. See here, you already studied frequency of AC using sonometer in your class 12 practicals. Here, total length of the sonometer wire is given, that is 110 centimeter, or we can write 1.1 meter. Then length of the wires are in the ratios. It is given 6:3:2. That is, here they given 60 centimeter, 30 centimeter and 20 centimeter. Then tension in the sonometer wire, that is 400 Newton. Mass per unit length, it is given 0.01 kg. So we know that frequency, here it is given by the equation, fundamental frequency of sonometer. Fundamental frequency of sonometer is given by the equation F equal to 1/2L into root of T divided by M. We can use this equation to find the common frequency in each ratios. So F equal to So 1 divided by 2 into total length is how much? 1.1 meter. Root of 400 divided by mass is, that is 0.01. So we can calculate this value. We will get F equal to, that is 200 divided by 2.2. Or we can multiply by 5 to both the values. So we will get 1000 divided by 11. So this is the common frequency. Similarly, for these three ratios, F1, F2 and F3. So we can calculate similarly here. F1 equal to 1 divided by 2 into, that is, here it is 60 centimeter, that means 0.6 into root of 400 divided by 0.01. Similarly for F2 and F3, calculate the values. 1 by 2 into 0.3, remaining is same, 400 divided by 0.01. And here 1 divided by 2 into 0.2, root of 400 divided by 0.01. Calculate all these values. So we will get, first one is 1000 divided by 6. Second one we got 1000 divided by 3. And the third one we got 1000 divided by 2 hertz. Now, what is the common frequency here? The common number is 1000. So the common frequency is 1000 hertz. 1000 hertz means option B is right. For the velocity time graph shown in the figure below, the distance covered by the body in the last 2 seconds of its motion is what fraction of the total distance traveled by it in all the 7 seconds? First you have to understand the question. The question is very simple. Observe the given graph. Let us take D1 is equal to x by y of D2. What it mean? What is D1? D1 is distance covered in last 2 seconds. And what is D2? D2 is distance covered from 1 to 7 seconds. Right? So here x by y we have to calculate. This fraction we have to calculate. Now, first I am going to calculate D1. D1 means what here? D1 means this area we can take last 2 seconds, that is between 5 to 7. That is the area of triangle. Let us take it as CDE. CDE. So we know the area of triangle is half into base into height, right? So half into base is 2, because 5 to 7, 7 minus 2 will be how much? 7 minus 5 is 2, and height is how much? 8. So we will get, 2 will get cancelled. So 8 meter. This is the value of D1. Similarly D2. D2 means what here? Area of, from 1 to 7, this complete area we can consider. This is equal to trapezium. Area of trapezium means what? 1 by 2 into sum of parallel lines into height. Substitute the value 1 by 2 into sum of the parallel lines. Parallel lines. Here parallel lines means we can take, this is 6 and this will be 2. You can observe here, this will be 6 and this is 3 to 5 will be 2 and height is 8. So what we can get here? Calculate the value, we will get 32 meter. So now we got D1 and D2 value. Now the equation is D1 equal to x by y of D2. D1 is 8 equal to x by y into D2 value is 32. Now x by y will be how much? That is 8 divided by 32. 8 by 32 will be 1 by 4. So 1 by 4, that is option B is right. An object undergoing simple harmonic motion takes 0.5 second to travel from one point to zero velocity to the next such point. The distance between those points is 50 centimeter. The period, frequency and amplitude of the motion is. We have to calculate a time period, frequency and amplitude. So the object that undergoing simple harmonic motion. See here, if I am going to consider the particle at point A, it undergoes simple harmonic motion and it reaches point B. Is it clear? This is the mean position. So here, when that object starts to travel from one point of 0, this is 0, velocity to the next such point, means at point B, means it is traveling from point A to point B. So when it traveling from point A to point B, that completes half oscillation, that is T half. When it come back to point A, to and fro motion, right? So when it reaches the point B, it completes half of the oscillation. So first we have to calculate a time period. See here, T half is given. How much time it will take? 0.5 second it is given. Then we have to calculate a total time. Total time means half of the time will be 0.5 second. Then it takes 1 second. This is time period. Then come to frequency, f equal to 1 by t. 1 by t will be 1 by 1, that gives 1 hertz. Then come to the amplitude. Here amplitude will be from point A to point O. This is amplitude A. If A is the amplitude, then here it is given in the problem, the distance between those points will be 50 centimeter. The value of 2A is 50 centimeter, it is given. So this is the value of 2A. So we want amplitude A equal to 50 by 2, that gives 25 centimeter. So time period is 1 second, frequency is 1 hertz and amplitude is 25 centimeter. So option A is right.